I am here with none other than the one and only, introduce yourself.
Charles Thorpe.
Charles Thorpe, but you're not Charles Thorpe the third or fifth.
No, I am Charles Harrison Thorpe, other known as Charlie or Ollie Bolly Charlie.
Exactly. And we find ourselves here in Connecticut in this beautiful surrounding, and this house that was built by whom?
My great-grandfather.
Great-grandfather built this house, and you would be amazed at the fancy woodwork in there that he did all himself. Yep. And he had a wood shop down the street, and some of his furniture now sells for big money, which is cool. Now, you had a few questions that you wanted to answer, one of them being how you got into playing reggae as a drummer.
All right. Well, this is a very good topic to bring up and one I really like to talk about. When I was a kid, we always wondered what Dad did late at night. We just knew we never saw Dad. We knew he was a union electrician, but we never knew what he did at night or why he would show up for church wearing like the finest Sansabelt suit with the nice wide lapels and the elevator shoes that happened to be purple velvet, suede, and white. Huh. We always wondered about Dad. You know, he's kind of an odd dude. Well, one day he was in between cars. He was going to get a new car, a newer car. The Volvo had died, and he brought these boxes in that smelled, and he put them under the stairwell in the house. And it smelled like cigarettes, like an old bar. Like, you know, as a kid, you're like, you know, that old drunk guy at the family reunion. That's what the house smelled like. It was horrible. So my brother and I are like, Dad, what is this smelly crap? What is this? It looked like musical instruments or something like that to us. And he goes, oh, yo, your mom's going to kill me. What do you mean, Dad? He's looking really concerned. He goes, well, those are my drums. You're not supposed to know about the drums. What do you mean drums? Oh, that's right, you play drums. You play drums? My brother and I are sitting there. Those are drums? Hey, let's set them up and play them real loud. My dad's like, oh, your mother is gonna kill me. If you guys set up the drums and you're playing the drums, she's absolutely gonna kill me. She'll never talk to me again. She does not want her kids becoming musicians who are away from their families most nights and most holidays.
Right.
Does not want that to happen. So, lo and behold, we got the Rolling Stones cranking. We got the drums set up. My brother and I are playing the drums. My dad's loving it. Mom comes home. Well, the drums kind of got packed up for a while. Then they got unpacked. My brother wanted to play the drums, so we put those in his bedroom. He was the worst drummer ever. He could play one beat. And I had a guitar. I tried like hell to play the guitar. With these stumpy fingers, I could not play guitar, or at least I was not patient enough. I played trumpet before, just really wasn't my bag.
Right.
So I decided, Brian, here, you get the guitar with the Bigsby vibrato, you play your punk rock, and I'll get the drums from my room. Who knows, maybe we'll come up as a duo. We'll be a punk rock duo or something. That might be cool. My brother and I hate each other, so that was never going to happen. So I got the drums. I would play the drums. I'd play to the Rolling Stones records. My dad was into like Bachman Turner Overdrive in Chicago, so the music would come out now, and so we'd talk about music, and he'd teach me some beats. And he said to me, son, you're my black son, the drummer. I do not want you to go to music school because it'll mess you up. You can already play blues intuitively. You can already play some jazz. You can play rock and roll. No problem, no problem. You're the guy who already can play everything. Huh. I said, that's cool. He goes, I said, you know what, there's one beat I can't play, Dad. What's that one? You know that Culture Club song, Do You Really Want to Hurt Me? That's a poppy cat, you know, pop tune. How is that beat played? I can't even feel that beat, Dad. And he goes, oh, well, let's see. This will be interesting. He could sight read anything and write music. He goes, and he helped me learn big band. And he goes, oh, instead of a 2 and 4 on the snare, it's a 3 on the kick and the snare. That's interesting. So there's no one beat. It's called a one drop. A one drop. James Brown always wanted the one. Boom, da, 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 boom, one. But reggae is 3. Skank is on 2 and 4. Interesting. So we got that sealed. Now I can play along to Joe Jackson, The Clash, The Police, because now I had a whole new bag of tricks playing the one drop. At the same time, one of the few radio stations I could get at my place in Pomfret, Connecticut, where I was growing up, was WBRU, Brown University Radio, college radio. Every Sunday they'd have a show called Reggae Bloodlines. And this would be with Peter Simon, Carly Simon's brother, with Mikey Dread. And they would do 6 to 8
Mikey
hours.
Dread?
And Mikey Dread.
The British Mikey Dread?
The Mikey Dread. Those were
Holy
the 2
shit.
DJs. Heavy duty.
Wow.
So I would listen to this show religiously. I would tape the show. I'd be right there with a tape deck to start it and pick up my drums and just play for those 6 to 8 hours nonstop.
Wow.
And I got to listen to Culture. I got to listen to, you know, the Congo Brothers. I mean, just all this crazy stuff that I was exposed to. And early dub, especially Mikey Dread, really had a hand in that. And of course, he was friends with Peter Tosh and all those people too.
Right.
So I was just drawn to it like a moth to a flame. And I would play reggae all day Sunday. And then, of course, there was some real nice lover's soul after that I would, you know, learn some soul tunes afterwards too, as well. A lot of fun. So now I'm playing in a band. We're doing covers of The Clash, The Police, etc., etc. We throw in a few Peter Tosh tunes. Hey, we're playing reggae now, too. Guess what? You play reggae, the girls are dancing, the guys are buying drinks. Everybody's smiling. What better place to spread a message to teach people new things that they don't know about?
Right.
To me, it opened my world of positivity, of being able to communicate, to be able to get out of my shell. And I had also worked for a whole summer with 20 Jamaicans off a work release program where they'd pick apples. So I understood the patois. I understood the culture. I understood these are people who have very little, but make a lot of out of what they have and give. They're giving people who want to make the world better. This kind of positivity really is the kind of thing I need, probably as a teenager.
And what year would that have been?
That would have been starting around 1981.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you said I know you had a band called Trooping the Color. Is that the band you're talking about?
No, this was my first band called the Admiral's Cats. And this was our band from Woodstock Academy.
Okay.
So one of my best friends, Tom Meyer, and I, he was a keyboard player. Another best friend, Tim Moore, was a bass player. He's now an English teacher here in Griswold, Connecticut. Still strange as can be. Love the guy. And then Mike Higgins, who went to school to become a 21st century classical composer. He was a guitar player. And we were his mom owned a biker's bar. And we used to go and play for all the bikers on Saturday nights. 14, 16-year-old kids getting paid, some serious cake, and some serious extra things we were given. Right. Exposure to a pitcher of beer and a chunk of hash. That was all good.
So you did that, then you did Trooping the Color, and then when did you get into like doing sort of reggae more full time?
Well, the reggae thing was kind of a joke that I proposed when we were sitting around smoking weed and drinking beers. We had a band house as Trooping the Color, and Trooping the Color had gone very far as a, shall I say, a psychedelic prog rock / new wave band.
Right. With
Berkeley musicians and a drummer, me. And so, and we were still influenced by reggae in that band as well, but not so much. But we had a band house. The problem with the band house is people don't pay their bills. You go for months without heat or hot water. You have to pay that retroactively. I had to sell my stereo to pay for heat that I used in the winter before.
Oh, shit.
People didn't do the dishes. People didn't uphold their end of the bargain. People become assholes when you see them all the time and they never leave your living room.
Right.
It gets kind of annoying, and then you go play gigs with them, and then you have to talk about it afterwards. It got really old, roommates, especially my girlfriend moving in, who is now my wife.
Right.
So we were sitting around one day with Andrew Clark, who also played guitar, played saxophone with us, and he was from Berkeley as well. And we had a version of Let It Be we did with Trooping the Color, which was by far our biggest hit. It was just a cover version. It was in reggae. It was Let It Be. It was great. And so I said to the boys as we were getting red-eyed that what we should do is be a bunch of white guys that do Bob Marley covers for all the colleges. We show up on time, we do our job. Everyone else will fail that test. We'll get great gigs. And at that point, people were paying $3,500 to $5,000 for bands, reggae bands, to play for their frat or for their keg party or whatever. First year, we made $160,000 of what I started off as a bad joke. 3 white guys playing reggae, Bob Marley covers, playing at colleges. We grossed 160 grand.
Wow.
By the next year, we were backing up Eka Mouse at the Channel. We were backing up the Meditations at Night Stage. We were now in the real reggae audience. So we had to get serious. We did quick. And so we ended up recording a bunch of tunes, originals. We brought those to Sidney Mills, who was friends through Kevin Batchelor, who was roommates with Phil Sykes at Berkeley. So through those connections, Sidney Mills, who had just produced Sly and Robbie's Silent Assassin, Rhythm Killers, Shelly Thunder, numerous other things, Boogie Down Productions. Sidney Mills was really the sound of the time, bringing New York rap to dance hall. And really brought the whole East Coast into a real heavy dance hall scene, mostly because there was a lot of Jamaicans here in those days. So we chose Sidney Mills. We paid him some money. The guy worked 24 hours a day for 48 hours. He never slept. He had the most positive attitude of any person I've met in my entire life, of which I will carry with me till my death. And we got a record done that was then for release by Island Records by Chris Blackwell.
Wow.
Who of course discovered U2 and Bob Marley. Chris Blackwell was so into our band, he said, I'm going to give you a $500,000 advance, but we can't pick you this month. You're going to have to wait for the next quarter because another band you guys know, Unity 2, they fell into the next slot. Fine, fair enough. All we got to do is wait another quarter, 3 months, guys, and then we'll be able to have $500,000 advance to go on tour for Island Records. Wouldn't that be huge? Unbeknownst to me, the other guys who didn't have day jobs, which I did, I was production manager at a $9 million company printing t-shirts. They didn't. They complained all the time about work, which was playing in the reggae band. I booked the reggae band. It was very ungratifying. It was like, where's my deli platter? What do you mean I gotta help pay tolls? You know, what are you talking about? I just gave you $100. That got real old. So there was a lot of infighting going on.
And this was the name of the band was what?
This was One World now.
Okay, right on.
One World, sorry, but that was now One World. It's all a blur. So One World, we started as a joke, became very serious, going to be a product for Island Records. My friends were smoking crack, really smoking crack. All behind my back. I suspected one of them was, but he was kind of not one that was going to stick around long anyways. So anyways, they stole my van, they stole my band, they stole half of my equipment. I owned half the equipment. I called up the entertainment lawyer, who was Steve Ross, the lawyer for Boston and the Cars and Aerosmith. He said to me, I don't know who you are as vice president of the corporation. Your friend Tom Meyer signed the check. Click. At that point, Tom Meyer was on his way to Cleveland with a band called Sada, where he was making $400 a week. That was a better gig, apparently, than the Island Record gig. No, it's just because they were following the crack, and they had to get out of town. I lost $40,000 on top of that and the whole deal. There again, I didn't talk to my friend again for many, many years, only to tell him he was a complete asshole.
Right.
With that being said, that band, One World, broke up as they took off to Cleveland, and I was sitting here by myself. I played a stint in the blues band. Did a lot of Allman Brothers covers, 2 bands. Hey, I was 2 drummers. I was doing the 1 drummer version. It was great. We were a really good band. But that band, New Family Dog, didn't last long because my friend had to go to college. So then I was looking for a band. And then I was told about a gig with a woman named Star. Yeah, we all laughed a little bit.
Yeah.
And at that gig was a gentleman who I had already met named Shaka Black. And Shaka Black could sing the crap out of dance hall. It's a Monsignor guy. And so I did the gig, and I met Kyle, and I met Ryder McCoy, Kyle Russell and Ryder McCoy. And we did a gig with Star. I got my $100, and I got to hang out with Shaka again. And Shaka hit the stage, and I was like, man, if I could do anything, it would be a band that would do all the new dub plates and get people like Shaka, you know, to rap on it and do stuff. We'd have our own thing going on. And knowing people like Tapa from the Western Front, he had his own record lathe and stuff, you know, I'm just thinking of all these cool things that could happen. So, didn't see the guys again until a very drunk night in Pomfret, Connecticut, when you were playing at I forget the name of the place, but it was a steak joint, pool joint, and they were playing with the Mighty Charge. And unfortunately for the guys, the music was horrible, but I could see that Ryder and Kyle had real talent, and something that I could mold in the fact that they weren't soured Berkeley musicians who've been through the roof and everybody owed them everything. They had a good, wide open attitude. I thought that this was something that would work out where I could be maybe more of a drummer and not the guy booking the band and doing all the other stuff as well. And that I may be very happy doing that. And I think these are the right people. So I joined Mighty Charge. Shall I say, I asked to join Mighty Charge, and Albert was no longer, I guess. And so did gigs with the Mighty Charge. Still didn't really like the music at all, but I liked Kyle, I liked Ryder. So we ended up forming a band, Rockers International, right?
Yeah.
And we started doing dance hall rhythms. I would tape off of, you know, one of the radio shows here in Boston where they play all the new dub plates. And I'd bring them to rehearsals and we'd learn them. And then the singers like Shaka would pick it up, and then we'd be playing gigs and other singers would come along. And that really turned into Rockers International, then later into Dub Station. So that is why I got started and now continued into how I kept doing it.
Right.
I think that's a pretty good coverage, right?
Very good coverage.
Excellent, because you were there for a lot of that.
I was there.
and it was work.
It was work. It was a lot of work, but you did a lot of work way before even all of that.
Yes.
Because you got such an early start as a young teen.
Yep.
Performing and then
Big time.
doing different types of music and then doing the reggae thing and then coming that close to a record deal with Island Records. Yep. And then, and yes, there was Star and there was Rockers International, but Rockers International, we held an audition gig at a place called Blanchers or Bleachers.
Yeah,
in
that's right.
Salem.
That's right.
And
I remember.
The competition was between Skiffy and Mr. B and journalist and some rapper, I do not remember his name.
That's great.
Screechy, no, it wasn't
No,
Screechy.
it wasn't Screechy Dan, no.
It was somebody else.
Somebody like that.
And anyway, the bottom line was we found that Skiffy and B were a magical combo.
Phenom.
Phenom?
They were phenomenal. In fact, I wanted to call our gig with them, or our first album at least, There Goes the Neighborhood. And I'd want to escort the two of them on with like, those yellow prison suits and like uncuff them on stage. Because the words that would come out of their mouths were just insanely great. and so I say, maybe not for your mother to listen to, but it made it all the more fun. And the interaction, because so much of it was spontaneous, especially with B, the guy would always just come up with the freshest lyrics and he would forget them 10 minutes later. But it was so great. And it really added an element of danger, not only on stage, but perhaps off stage sometimes too, which has kept it very interesting.
Very true. So there was Rockers there, and then we did Dub Station, and as I recall, when we were trying to name it, you came up with the full, the complete name was going to be Techno Dub Dance Station or something like that.
Something crazy like that, yeah.
Yeah. You came up with that, and then I was like, let's make it simpler. How about just Dub Station?
Which was perfect.
And then you were like, yeah, that works. That totally works.
Fits better on a t-shirt, too.
Yes, true. And we went on to do a zillion gigs.
Yes.
Any gigs or artists that stood out for you?
Oh, the artists that stood out for me. I'm going to go down right down the list. Pat Kelly, Hopeton Lewis, George Nooks, Frankie Paul. My old band One World used to say to me, "You ain't salt in the reggae community. If you can do a gig with Frankie Paul and Frankie Paul says you're good, then you've hit the mark."
Right.
Well, Frankie Paul became a dear friend of mine, and he always remembered me, and that was just such a privilege to have worked with him. Unfortunately, he's passed, but to say that I've really spent quality time on stage and off stage with Frankie Paul was a real privilege. Then we move on to so many other greats, like where do you start? I mean, some of them weren't I would call greats, but hey, Mad Cobra was a lot of fun. Johnny Osborne, of course, what a privilege to work with him. Terry Gonzi, whoa, amazing. Major Mackerel,
That, by the way, was our first official dance hall gig.
Yes.
We did that in one of the clubs in Skycap. Holy crap. Skycap Lounge. And when we did that show, someone was supposed to show up and they didn't show up. Maybe it was, I forget who it was. But the bottom line was we did, what was it? It was Johnny Osborne.
No, that was Terry Gonzi
and Major
Mackerel singing Melody.
Singing effing Melody. Holy cow.
Lady Venus.
You know what year that was? 1994.
Yeah.
That was some classic stuff.
That was amazing. And the Skycap was the most beautiful old ballroom from the 30s, which was pretty much untouched.
Right.
And we originally, when we walked in there, we had some guys from the neighborhood kind of checking us out, the guys with the gold teeth. And I remember very clearly that Ross Jr. walked up behind me, and all I heard was, "Click, click, you don't mess with my white friends, you hear." And I turned around, and he's pointing a silver-plated pistol at these three guys that then sauntered off. And we didn't see him again for the evening. That's why he earns cred for being on our first album cover.
That is classic. Ross Jr. was truly a legend.
Oh my God. He was the MC. No, he wasn't the MC that night. That was Travel Fox.
Oh, right. Travel Fox. And then there was the Bills era.
Bills era. And through that, I mean, of course we had Frankie again, and we had Singing Melody, but we had not only Everton Blender. Of course, we also did the Vermont Reggae Fest with Richie Spies.
Right.
Who was an unheard of at that point, I think.
Yeah, he was brand new.
And what a superstar that guy is. Backing Junior Kelly. That was positively amazing.
Oh, you're getting the call.
I'm going to have to take this phone call.
Okay, should I pause it or... Okay.